Guilt and shame are lumped into the same category as non-adaptive emotions, but actually there's a lot to be said on. One of them is actually very good for personal development and for growth in your life, whereas one of them seems to be kind of condemnable. In this episode of The Living Philosophy, we're going to look at why, and I'm going to talk about why guilt can be useful for you, while shame can be destructive to all growth. One of my favourite thinkers / writers in recent times is Brene Brown. She's a shame researcher based in Texas, and she's got some cracking insights. They really make you think. I remember the first time I listened through this 6-hour talk that she gave called I think it was called The Power of Vulnerability. And I was doing a help-ex with a guy in Australia living on an intentional community, and he was giving me these different thinkers, and I sat down and listened to that, and it was mind-blowing. There was so many light bulbs going off, and one of the big ones was this distinction between guilt and shame. And she was saying shame is this, this very dangerous emotion. What shame makes you feel bad about yourself. You just kind of want to disappear, and you feel worthless, and it's this, you just want the world to swallow you up and to disappear. And shame is this horrible thing, and it just makes you feel worse about yourself, and it throws you back 10 steps. And there's this big distinction she draws between guilt and shame. She says that guilt says I did something bad, whereas shame says I am bad. And it's that difference, it's that subtle thread between identity that makes such a big change in how those emotions affect your life going onwards. What it means is, okay, let's say you did something bad, and you now recognize, oh shit, I did that thing, and I really shouldn't have done it. And if you think, I did a bad thing, then what you're condemning there is the action. I did a bad thing. The thing is bad. Therefore, in future, I will try not to do that thing. So guilt is adaptive. You say, this thing is bad, but next time I can do that and I can do that. So there's a faith implicit in that sentiment of guilt that you can do better. Whereas shame says, I am bad. Like, I did this bad thing because I am a bad person. The reason is that I am bad. And so shame, it says, how can I expect to do any better? So in future, if you're faced with the same situation and shame was your reaction the last time, then shame is likely to be your reaction again this time. And you're going to go, well, how can I do any better when I am a bad person? So that thing of that identity level shift is very dangerous, because you're letting this bad thing, dampness, get into your foundations and just destroy it. Whereas guilt is adaptive. You can keep getting better with guilt, because it's like you're testing out your options. You're testing out things that you're doing, and you go, oh, did not like that. That was a bad thing for me to do. I'm not going to do that again. Oh, okay, this one was a bit better. So with guilt, you're being discerning, and it can draw you on to greater development, whereas shame is just like, I am bad. There's no real development beyond that. And she explores how that's common in people who can end up in negative spirals and experiencing a lot of bad things in their life, and do a lot of bad things in their life. It's because they have this shameful mindset which drives it home. And this is kind of stuck in my head as I've been reading more personal development books over the years. And I think it was James Clear talking about habits, and he says, let it get deep into you, let it become part of your identity if you're trying to change a habit. So he says it's useful to let things into your identity if you're trying to make a change. So it's not that I go for runs this many days a week, it's that I am a runner. And so because you have that identity of being a runner, what does a runner do? They run. So you go for a run because you believe you are a runner. So he's got that opposite distinction. So the thing is be careful what you identify with, because if you identify with negative aspects, then you will reinforce those. But if you identify with positive aspects, you can nurture those, and you can use that for development. And an identity level change is much more sustainable than you using willpower to do something again and again and again, like you're fighting against the tide of yourself. And I'd be curious to see what Brene Brown would make of that, actually, that distinction, because using identity at that positive level, because the guilt is useful for negative emotions and for learning from things, but the identity level thing might be more useful in positive emotions, while it's positively destructive when it comes to shame. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you today. Just a little distinction there between guilt and shame and how they apply with more positive or negative things. If you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you have any insights, thoughts, feedback to add. And otherwise I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching.